I live near Toronto, Ontario, and earlier today I heard that the northern lights might be visible tonight. Back in May, I had gone with friends to see them, and it was an incredible experience, so I didn't want to miss this chance. Unfortunately, none of my friends were available to join me, but I decided to make the trip solo anyway. My plan was to drive out to a remote spot in Algonquin Park, hike into the woods, enjoy a campfire, stargaze, and head back home. The drive to Algonquin is about 4 hours, so I packed some essentials and set out. About 2 hours into the trip, a friend texted me, letting me know that the forecast for the northern lights wasn't looking good. Still, I decided to keep going, figuring I'd at least get to enjoy the stars, which are always stunning in remote areas. By the time I hit the 3-hour mark, it was close to 11 p.m. I found myself on a desolate stretch of road, surrounded by forest on both sides. There were no street lights, no other cars, just darkness. To pass the time, I called a friend and we chatted about stargazing, which is one of my favorite hobbies. The sky was breathtaking and he encouraged me to stop and take a few pictures. I pulled over to the side of the road, left my car running, turned off the headlights, and stepped out. For a while, I stood by the edge of the woods, admiring the stars and describing the view to my friend on the phone. Everything seemed fine until it didn't. The forest, which had been alive with the faint rustling of leaves and the occasional sound of animals, fell completely silent. No wind, no movement, just an eerie stillness. I felt a wave of unease wash over me. My instincts kicked in and I grabbed my flashlight, thinking maybe a bear or some other animal was nearby, and I cautiously stepped a little further into the woods and shone the light around, and that's when I heard rustling and my heart started racing, and I swung the light toward the sound and saw it. About 50 meters away, something was standing upright on 2 legs. Its glowing orange-red eyes cut through the darkness, locking onto me. I froze. I tried to explain what I was seeing to my friend on the phone, but before I could get the words out, the call dropped. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at this thing. Then, without warning, it started sprinting toward me. Panic surged through me, and I turned and ran as fast as I could back to my car. I jumped in, slammed the door, and floored it. My car roared as I sped down the road, shaking and crying, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I called everyone I could think of, but no one picked up until finally my best friend answered. Between sobs, I described what I'd seen, though I avoided saying the creature's name aloud. I just called it that thing. Whatever it wasn't natural. It shouldn't exist. While I was talking to my friend, my body started to ache. My muscles cramped, and I realized it was the adrenaline crashing down after the sheer physical effort of running for my life. As an ex-athlete, I knew my body had gone into overdrive to save me, but now the pain was catching up. And then I saw it again. The creature was on the side of the road, keeping pace with my car. Its glowing eyes were fixed on me, and my fear skyrocketed. I screamed into the phone, and my friend begged me to keep driving and not look back. I wanted to turn around, but the road was too narrow. After another 15 minutes, I finally found a spot to make a U-turn. As I slowed down, I heard a piercing scream, loud and guttural, coming from just outside my car window. My heart felt like it would burst, and I floored it again, racing back the way I'd come. My friend stayed on the line, trying to keep me calm, but nothing could stop the dread I felt. That's when I saw it one last time. It was crouched on the side of the road in a fetal position, but as I passed, its head snapped up, and those glowing eyes met mine again. I drove faster than I ever had before, desperate to get away. Even as I neared civilization, the tension didn't ease. I played music to distract myself, but then came a new sound, tapping on my car's sunroof. It was rhythmic, deliberate. Somehow, I knew it was trying to get me to look up. I resisted the urge, gripping the wheel tighter and focusing on the road ahead. The tapping continued for what felt like an eternity, until I finally reached a small town. I pulled over, shaking uncontrollably, and called my friend again. My body was overwhelmed. My hands trembled, and I even threw up from the stress. My friend tried to calm me down, talking about anything and everything to distract me, from video game lore to random trivia. It helped a little, but the fear never fully left. I eventually made it home, locking every door and window as soon as I got inside. Even now, as I sit here writing this, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. I don't know what I encountered out there, but I hope I never see it again. A few days ago, something happened that I can't stop thinking about. I was in my room playing Xbox when I heard a strange noise outside my window. It sounded like an animal in distress, almost like a dying creature. I'd heard it a couple of times earlier in the day, but this time it was much louder and way more aggressive. It immediately gave me a bad feeling. So I decided to step outside and figure out what was going on. To give you some context, my window faces the backyard, which borders a narrow laneway. The only thing separating them is a flimsy, poorly built fence. As I walked out, I headed toward the area near my window and noticed my dog acting completely frantic. It was clawing at the fence, barking nonstop like it was trying to ward off something. The eerie noise had stopped by then, but the strange part was that other dogs in the neighborhood were going wild too. At first, I assumed it must have been stray dogs fighting nearby. Maybe one of them had gotten hurt. I leaned over the fence to take a look, but didn't see anything unusual. It was just empty, quiet, and dark. I managed to calm my dog down and decided to go inside to check the front window, which faces the street. Here's the thing about that window, it's kind of hard to spot from outside, so you'd only notice someone looking through it if you were actively searching for them. The barking from the neighborhood dogs hadn't let up, so I figured I'd see some sort of commotion, maybe a pack of dogs running down the street or something. But when I looked out, there wasn't a single dog in sight. Instead, I saw a man. He was walking down the street with his back to me. Something about him felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I couldn't look away either. I stared, trying to make sense of the situation. That's when it happened. Without warning, the man stopped, turned around in one fluid motion, and locked eyes with me. The way his eyes met mine felt like a punch to the gut. My stomach dropped, and every instinct in my body screamed at me to get away. I stumbled back from the window, heart racing, and tried to catch my breath. After a few seconds, I told myself I was overreacting. I worked up the courage to take another look just to make sure he wasn't still there, but when I peeked out the window, he was gone. The amount of time I spent away from the window was barely a few seconds. There's no way someone could have disappeared that quickly. It didn't make sense. The street was empty with no sign that anyone had been there at all. The whole thing left me rattled. I don't know what I saw or what I experienced that night, but one thing's for sure, I'll be keeping my curtains closed from now on. I don't like throwing around the term Skinwalker to describe the nightmares that roam the Appalachian Mountains. For one, it doesn't feel accurate, and two, it seems like the only people who believe in them are the ones who've had the misfortune of seeing them up close. Before 2 weeks ago, I would have laughed off the idea myself, but not anymore. Visiting the Appalachian Mountains had been a dream of mine for years. From the pictures I'd seen online, the landscape looked stunning, majestic even. When I finally had the chance to make it happen, I didn't think twice. I booked a cabin, packed a bag, and flew out, excited to experience the peaceful mountain lifestyle for a couple of weeks. The first few days were exactly what I'd hoped for. I settled into the cabin, hiked the nearby trails, and soaked in the scenery. It was everything I'd imagined, until the 5th night. That's when things took a turn for the worse. The cabin I rented came with 2 large floodlights that lit up the backyard. Every night, I'd see a coyote wander by, triggering the lights. It became such a routine occurrence that I started to look forward to it. But on that 5th night, whatever tripped the floodlights wasn't a coyote. I was in the living room watching some satellite TV when the lights came on. As usual, I walked over to the window expecting to see my furry visitor. Instead, I froze. What stood outside wasn't a coyote. It wasn't any animal I'd ever seen. Its body was somewhat normal, but the legs, they were impossibly long and thin, grotesque in their proportions, easily 3 times longer than any coyote's legs should be. And its eyes, hollow and empty, like they were staring straight through me. For a moment, all I could do was stare back, paralyzed. Then it screamed. The sound was the most chilling, blood-curdling noise I've ever heard. Before I could react, it took a step closer to the window. That snapped me out of it. I turned to grab my phone to call for help, but before I could even unlock it, the floodlights shut off. Now, the only light in the room came from the faint blue glow of the TV. I panicked and ran upstairs to my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. Once inside, I hid in the closet, squeezing into a corner and pulling the door shut. The slats in the door gave me a narrow view of the room, though I wasn't sure I wanted to see what might come next. I reached for my phone again, only to realize it was dead. Then came the knocking. At first, it was faint, like someone lightly tapping on the front door, but it didn't stop. It grew louder, more insistent, and went on for what felt like an eternity. I sat there, clutching my jacket for some semblance of comfort, trying not to make a sound. Suddenly, the knocking stopped. For a brief moment, I thought it might be over. That hope was shattered when I heard the door creak open, not forced open, just quietly, almost politely, like whoever or whatever was outside had been invited in. I could hear footsteps now, slow and deliberate, moving through the cabin. Then they started climbing the stairs, each step louder and quicker than the last. My heart raced as the sound got closer and closer until it was right outside my bedroom door. It entered the room. I heard drawers being yanked open, the bed sheets rustling as it searched for something. I peeked through the slats, but all I could make out were shadows until it leaned in, its face pressed up against the closet door, just inches from mine. The smell of decay hit me, and the sound of its breathing was so loud it made my ears ring. I bit down on the sleeve of my jacket, trying to stifle my sobs, and huddled deeper into the corner. I don't know how long I stayed there, but at some point I noticed light filtering through the closet slats. Daylight. The creature was gone. I cautiously opened the closet door and scanned the room. It was empty. I crept downstairs and peeked outside. There was no sign of it anywhere. I didn't waste another second. I grabbed my things, got in my car, and drove until I was miles away from that cursed cabin. I don't plan on ever going back. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the locals aren't lying when they talk about the horrors in those mountains. They're real, and if you ever come across one, pray the sunlight scares it off before it gets to you.